The city of civilizations, the address of peace, brotherhood, and trust, Silivri. And its history that defies centuries, its culture distilled from centuries and extending to the present day, as it reaches into the future with its nature that encompasses all the beauties of life. It virtually shouts with the unique human stories in every corner, saying, "There is life in Silivri." And the stop on our journey to document and pass on to future generations that life in Silivri exists in all its colors in every neighborhood. This time it's Çanta. In this charming neighborhood, which has had to relocate several times in its history, the only thing that hasn't changed is the sincere bonds its people have with each other. Always showcasing the finest examples of agriculture, sports, and solidarity. The people of Çanta are careful to continue the traditions they learned from their ancestors even today. If you like, let's not prolong the talk any further and listen to the story of Çanta from the mouths of its residents, who say there is life in Çanta.
In 1923, they came to Çanta as part of the population exchange. Well, ours came with the population exchange. Was it in 1923 or 1922? There was such an exchange, you know. Roughly speaking, ours were the last ones to arrive. There were those who came before us, you know.
6 people, my father, my mother, 5 children, and my grandfather. They gave us 42 acres of land 6 times as a settlement right back then. That's how we stayed.
My grandfather, before coming here in 1924, we came here, but did he leave in the 18th, 17? I don't know that. He goes from Greece to America. After that, my grandmother and others come here. My father comes at the age of 9. My father's uncle and others, the uncles, come as a family. After that, my grandfather was working there in Chicago. My grandfather comes here from America.
In 1920, our grandfathers came into the old Çanta köy, about 500 kilometers from here. They settled in an old settlement area.
The bag has changed 3 Greek villages. It has changed. How has it changed? First, in the place where the old bag was when we grew up. There, when our fathers got married and grew up, there was a problem. That is, they were doing viticulture. The Greeks, because they were doing viticulture, the Greeks were avoiding transportation. There is a place we call Cambasepe. They pay migration to Cambasepe. They place the village there. When they establish the village there, pirates, a ship comes and the pirates kidnap the children. They cannot settle comfortably. They come from there to a place called Asancheshmi. The Greeks established a village there. They establish it, but they cannot be comfortable there either. Due to the mosquitoes of that time, they suffer from malaria. This time they save the children from malaria. They cannot save them. Again, they return here. They come to what is now Çanta köy.
Then there is a residential area in the Hasancheshme region. However, I think the residential area in the Hasancheshme region is older because some column capitals were found there. That is, column capitals from the Roman period, but I couldn't find any sources that go back that far.
Previously Sanchak, coming from Cambastepe, settled in Hasancheshme, later moved to Eski Çanta, and with this, a settlement in 4 different locations. Çantaköy in the name of Çanta Eski.
Establishment, process. As far as I know, from what I've heard from the elderly, it starts from the old Santa. If we go much further back, it starts from Kanbastepe. Kantua, then, currently, Çanta consists of two neighborhoods, Sancaktepe and Balaban, as Çanta neighborhood.
This place where we are now is where I spent my childhood. I mean, our house is approximately 600, 700 meters away from here. Our house is located at the very edge of the village, at the highest point.
We had a very beautiful village, an exact example of Safranbolu left from the Greeks, with bay windows, wooden cladding, guillotine windows, abundant eaves, corner projections, magnificent houses that we especially saw.
Of course, our houses were Greek anyway. Greek houses are two-story. We had beautiful windows with bay ironwork. Then we had barns, cows. It was beautiful. We used to carry water from the fountain.
They were all Greek houses, big, oldie big. Our house was 2 stories. It even had a basement. You could say it was 2.5 stories. Greek house. They were all Greek houses, that is.
I mean, we got it from my grandfather as well. In 1957, it was a Greek house. There were houses next to them. Alagalar vardı, Ramazanagalar, and then Braydılar. Kırmızı Mustafas, you know, they were all Greek houses. They were truly very beautiful houses. I mean, all made of wood like this.
4 walls of stone. There is a pillar in the middle. On top of that pillar, always wooden beam by beam, there were 2 rooms and a living room, also a bathroom and a toilet. That's it. There was no fuss with them. The Greek house adjacent to us.
The structures and buildings I love the most. They were such useful and beautiful houses. There were fountains, wells, and friends. Our village had more places for entertainment times. Our village was a very wealthy village.
Of course, our village was a village left by the Greeks, and every house had a well. But over time, we filled these wells with stones. Therefore, groundwater started to surface in those wells. There was a small shift, even if it was minor. However, since the buildings were wooden, it wasn't a visible shift or one that would endanger human life.
It happened, but we never saw it.
The reason for our migration is this. Do you know that every Greek house has a well? A well! Water is abundant. You know, the well is drawn and given, but what did we do? We blinded the wells. We threw garbage into the wells, made them a mess, threw filth into them. The wells burst with water. There was an action before the water burst.
Our neighborhood was the first to suffer a loss. After that, we applied to the government. Engineers came and inspected. This place was a farm. We didn't have land here. I didn't have any issues here. The state expropriated this place. We were 101 households when we first came here. Then it increased. They gave plots to the 101 households. We drew our plots. The state built 65-meter houses. With a 20-year term.
This place was just like a field. The state paid, I guess, to the people. Then we who came later paid the state.
May his place be in heaven. Ahmet Üstü, our village headman, is taking an initiative. Here the land of the villager is land expropriated by the Land Settlement Directorate, and a plan is being made. According to this plan, those registered in the Çantaköy registry who are over 18 years old, parcels consisting of 500 square meters were distributed to everyone.
The Tactile Commission arrived. Ahmet Üstün was the headman. I was also in politics. I also emerged more into the organization. Negdet Altınkök. They were members of the council. They came as the Tactile Commission. To them, we set such a price. Some took it to court, but the state continued.
We drew lots with the Quran, but we did it very honestly. We placed 2 bags, in one numbers, in the other names. A number is drawn, a name comes out. This is how we drew lots here with the Quran. We drew lots for 501 households. It grew later. That's a different matter.
We had an adventure here. Everything was rebuilt. The government helped some teams, but they didn't help us at all. We built our house with our own labor. The plots on that side were both large. And for them, here, these plots, 525 square meters. So here they left it free, build as many floors as you want.
But it was a good thing for the bag, in my opinion. It was an opportunity. The bag went 4 kilometers ahead to the edge of the London pavement. It went to a very central place. In my opinion, it was something magnificent.
Layla is in Cheshme, in the upper neighborhood. We are in the middle, handfuls. My God, I cannot tell you, there were a handful. Then I said, pass under it, close to the mosque. There was no mosque at first. There was a church, my grandparents came to that mosque, passed from there to our school. There was a school. While going to school, there was also a pool there. When I say pool, I see the water. I don't know how many cubic meters it holds. Approximately 3 like this square. Probably marble, but think of the marble from that time. How many years have passed?
For example, I would start from here now. One of them is covered fountain at the very entrance. One of them is Dinel Fountain. One of them is Layla Fountain. Asan Fountain is where the lands are. Hussein Fountain, some flow, some do not. Those who were concerned with clean water were very interested and sensitive to these. Some fountains are moved to the right, meaning they still flow. One of them is Güngarmes Fountain. Matbile Fountain. The fountains are still ongoing, meaning there are ones that still flow.
Well, we had a school fountain next to us. Our big fountain was very beautiful. Everyone would get water from there. But we also had the Layla Fountain a little outside our village. Its water was nice. We would get water from there to drink. We would drink it. Later on, they connected it from there. They connected it from here. We also started drinking from ours.
Those fountains are really too many. So when you go up, now for example, if we start from here below, the fountain we call Karanfini is right at the Yavur Banara location, women's fountain. When you go towards Sheye, on the E5 highway going towards Değirmenköy, Hassan Fountain is below, Makbule Fountain is at the back. So until you reach the forest area, there were dozens of fountains, in fact. There were more than those fountains there.
In Kırılar, there was Hussein Fountain, Hassan Fountain, and Makbule Fountain. There were many fountains in Kırılar. There was a more general fountain, and we also had fountains in Kırılar. I mean...
Here are the fountains that cannot be fully described, almost like a roaring waterfall. They bring abundance with them. Beside them, the people of Chanta, who lived for many years on the fertile lands of the vineyards left by the Greeks, have increased the diversity of agricultural products over the years, almost by helping each other, in the traditional communal way that remains in memories. Their livelihoods
Our village generally engages in agriculture, wheat, sunflower. We plant.
Everyone took out their own stove. For example, we harvested 1 ton of wheat. 1 ton of wheat would be enough for us. We harvested 200 to 300 kilos of chickpeas. We gave that and we would get oil from all of it, for example. The oil would be enough. We wouldn't buy anything with money. We would plant the lentils ourselves. We would plant the chickpeas ourselves. We would plant the stove ourselves. Many things. Everyone had chickens. For example, there was nothing to buy with our own money.
I used to plant a little onion, a little tomato for myself. Back then, there was nothing for sale. Wheat, sunflower, whatever you could get from them. Everyone had a cow at home. Milk wasn't sold back then either.
We had a garden. My mother used to plant pumpkins and spinach. She used to plant pumpkins. She used to plant tomatoes. Besides that, of course, wheat, oats, what we call barley, chickpeas, lentils, beans, whatever winter legumes there were, for winter use.
Since there were no markets like today, everyone would set aside their winter provisions in the summer. They would be consumed throughout the winter. Everything from these dough fillings to all other provisions would be prepared in the summer. Pickles, cheeses, everything would be prepared. They would be consumed throughout the winter.
We didn't always buy from ourselves. More or less it's just cheese. Back then, there were flour and other bulgur stones. We would make bulgur by grinding like this, again.
Back then, of course, their taste was different. You make certain things with the vegetables you grow in your own garden. For example, your tarhana, red pepper, and tomatoes are from your own. Does its taste now resemble anything you get from anywhere else?
Our childhood time was completely boring. But part of it is self-made, and 80% of it is inherited from them. Even now, 80% of the vaccines available are inherited from their era. We also cut a piece.
I mean, let them pass over my face for 15, 20 years. Then we ourselves broke the ties. We started something. We started planting bread, tomatoes. We moved on to planting tomatoes, then...
Back then it was livestock farming. There were no such factories or anything. All right. Tomatoes were the priority. Sunflower, onion, plum. We met our own needs ourselves. Every household had one or two large or small livestock.
Back then, everyone had a tomato field and was involved in growing irrigated tomatoes. In fact, tomatoes were even sent from here to the market in Istanbul by trucks.
Then I started tomato pulling from the gardens. They take tomatoes to Istanbul. We pull these tomatoes. That's how we would make a living from the garden.
The farms were solving the worker problem, that is the employment problem. We were one of the large farms in the region. These include the Papazlı farm, Bosna farm, Omursha farm, Armesha farm, and similarly large farms behind Dermankoy. In these places, employment was significantly provided during the summer season.
In the summer, when we start with peas or broad beans, definitely 50 or 100 workers will come from Çantaköy. They will be harvested, their peas will be collected or sent to Istanbul.
There was farming. Some were involved in animal husbandry. Some didn't have fields. They would go to work for daily wages. There was a farm, the Papazlı farm. There was a lot of work for you and me. People made their living like that. That's how they managed.
Completely, they work physically. That is, they work with their bodies, with a hoe, pickaxe, shovel, so on. Farming was also done with horses. Farming was done in the manner of a horse and plow, that is...
We bought a pair of horses. There was my late Uncle Osman. We bought them together as partners, one for him, one for us. For a few years I went with them, plowed it and then came back. They are not involved at all. I took care of them. I did everything myself.
He was a farmer. Then he opened a grocery store. I stayed at the grocery store for 4 years. He had goats, he had sheep. He did both farming and animal husbandry.
So my father had a profession as a butcher, but he was very meticulous, very clean. Every day he would slaughter a goat or something for someone. That's how we made a living. We didn't have a lot of wealth, but we didn't owe anyone anything. He didn't incur debts. My father wasn't extravagant.
But whatever I do, I will have a craft. I will earn my bread. I learned tailoring. I sewed for 65 years. I used to sew for 5 villages, Gümüş. From Çantaköy, I would come from all the villages.
The interactions between neighbors are strong. Very strong. People did not look down on each other like that. We have become different now. In the environment of those days, you wore patch pants, a patch jacket, a patch shirt, or in your home, there was a chair, a table. We couldn't see such things. I mean, we saw centuries, we saw rugs, but unfortunately it has become different now. We didn't know about coffee until the age of 18. In other words, a lack of cultural knowledge. There were interactions between family and neighbors. At that time, there was no electricity. Electricity came in the years 1969, 1970.
Well, then this is in the old bag. Television, radio. Then there was nothing like this. In our childhood years, we used to play with steel. We would make cars out of the day's head. We would console ourselves with such things.
My childhood was spent in these ravines. I was setting up nets there to catch birds, to trap hawks. We didn't really catch anything just like that.
We weren't bought ready-made toys. We would handle making our own toys ourselves. Our relationships with friends were very strong. Until the evening hours, until the call to prayer, we would be in the street with the children, with oily mud, with various things. We would set up games and play.
I mean, with village resources, we didn't have toys or anything like that. Were there toys 60 years ago? There weren't. We used to make wheels from sunflower stalks and roll them mostly anyway. A child meant a contribution to the household. They would find a job for each of us. I mean, according to our strength and age, some of us were herding sheep, some of us were reaping in the fields. Therefore, to contribute to the household economy, we were working. We didn't have much time either.
What would we do, my dear? Our toys were pieces of tile. Yes, my dear? What? Let me tell you now, there was something. There were oily clays. You might know. We would go and make pots and pans from them and play with those. For example, we would go and make dolls. We made dolls from cloth, corn now. For example, they would pick and peel the corn. We would go and take the corn husks, if they were a bit fresh, and make a doll with hair. That's how it was, my dear.
Well, we were kids back then. I understood more or less for 5 or 6 years. I did some backbreaking work. I mean, we used to go to the secrets. After that, there were the barren lands. We stayed here for 15 days, and 15 days in the barren lands.
I'm sleeping in the field. I see my father standing and smoking. Father, what are you doing? I make belts, my son, in the morning. The belt doesn't hold. He makes it from scratch. He makes 100, 200 belts. When will he sleep? When will it be finished? The belt then. So we work like this in the fields. If you ask about provisions, there it's garlic and vinegar. And sugar, a few 100 grams of sugar makes syrup, We worked a lot in the fields.
We used to play chelik, we used to play topuch. No ball, nothing. We used to make balls from quince, I was scolded. We used to play with them.
There was everything you could look for in childhood. What would we do? We would play, we would jump. We would go to school. The school was very close. We would go to school like that. All of us finished the 5th grade, school. We would dig wells, play dombala. We would make clay figures, play games like chingo, I don't know what else. That's childhood games for you.
We started school at the age of 7. Continuing with school, after leaving school, I followed the ball.
My brother was a true brother to me. He never upset me during my childhood. For example, all of my toy cars, back then my brother would make them. We used to make what we called steering cars, a kind of ball bearing, what we now call ball bearing cars, like scooters, different things back then made of wood with wheels and so on. We would make those kinds of cars too.
I used to play steel rod. Our school was close to our home. We would go to and from school. While studying at school, I really wanted to become a teacher. I wanted it so much. But I went when I was young to school. I left before I was 12 in primary school. Then I'll keep you waiting a bit. We went to teachers' school here. We entered the course there. I passed, but my mother didn't let me go.
I was an amateur football player. Let me tell you this. I'm not exaggerating. I was the #1 decision maker in the region. In those years, Göztepe İki, when Göztepe was in the 2nd league, I would join Göztepe. The interesting part is, being the only son of a family, since I had no other siblings, my late father didn't let me go.
Hasan Muhtar was a very good goalkeeper. For example, Hasan Susu, maybe. If he went to Göztepe, Beşiktaş and the national team would notice him. A man of quality. But there's a grocery store. His father doesn't allow it. He says you will stay at the grocery store. It's a...
Animals entered at once into the pasture, the Celtic pasture. Celtic grove comes. There was a grove named Camille. We gather at the edge of Toplar Lake for laundry. He also gathers the animals. Turn around, we are naked behind. We turn the animals, he turns to us. He came to Meremete, threw the laundry, and left the animals. So we have such memories.
No matter how old we are, the years that leave a mark in life and are always remembered are undoubtedly the childhood years. Just like these childhood memories we listen to, the bag that grows with solidarity every day may one day earn the right to become a municipality.
Therefore, in 1992, we became a municipality and we took over the first duty from 1992 to a total of 4 between 2009 terms, meaning one term was a half term. We served as a municipality, as a township.
Municipality. June 7th, in the by-election of 92. The election in 94, in the by-election, we worked hard here to reach a population of 2,000, that is, together, that population. We gathered it.
There is a kinship with Tayyar through my grandparents. At that time, no, in Bahçeli, the man who is the second vice president is our provincial head. They came to Silivri together with Orhan Keçeli. They come. This is a candidate who will win.
That is, being the mayor in the village where one was born is both very nice and very difficult because no one looks at you as the mayor. What is it? It's Softan's perspective. That's the view. That's the perspective.
I said, if we win, we become heroes. If we lose, we are erased. President Tahir in Istanbul, Bakırköy. There they do TMS drawings, they do construction. Tahir, Salfet Munir, TMS. The national president said that if it's with him, it will happen. He sits here in the same way. He lives with his mother. Candidates like this emerge from here. But it doesn't seem like they will win. Institutions spoke. They accepted. They informed the council. We put forward a candidate.
We held an election on June 7th. The first mayor, Tahir Sert, was elected as mayor. For 2 years, even 20 months. After that, in 94. Of course, he ran for election again in 94, and Tahir won again. He left in 99 to his brother. Safet Sert became a candidate, and Safet Sert won.
In 1994, the biological treatment plant, which at that time had a capacity for 20,000 people, was meeting our needs, and we found resources. We completed that treatment plant with our own means without using credit from the state. Of course, we had sewerage and water network, services, then the municipal building, a nursing home. Regarding the construction of roads, arrangements at the quay in the coastal area, the construction and maintenance of roads. In other words, we have our signature under every stone you see here. That is to say, there are 39 districts in Istanbul. Currently, during the times I was in charge, when none of them had a single mass housing production, I, as Santa municipality, produced 1,400 mass housing projects here. While being modern,
contemporary city started its establishment in 2005 and began occupancy from 2007 onwards. Here is the first phase, second phase, third phase, fourth phase. At the very beginning of these, there was the Soğut Yalçın site. The municipality had started. Enka Company completed this and opened it for occupancy, use and service.
One of the topics I am most hopeful about is that I have no unplanned space left. We have planned everything.
In 1992, we became a town until 2009. After that, we had no issue with the population, But due to legal requirements, neighborhoods were closed in 2009. When the neighborhoods were closed, when the towns were closed, we became a neighborhood of Silivri.
When President Tahir came to Istanbul, every time he came to Istanbul, if he happened to be around the Sirkeci area, he would visit me because my workplace is in Sirkeci. We would have a meal together, etc. There was Koşkun Öztürk related to sports, the team captain, and after that. Later, he was also in the management of the team. Coşkun was involved. There was Beyaz Özkök. There was Ramazan Merkan. These are related to the football team.
Well, the Çanta sports, of course, our elders tell us. In the old Çanta, for example, Çanta sports, founded by Orhan Yıldız and coached by the late Bezzettin Şişmanlı. I mean, they don't just tell any story. Team A, Team B, Team C. Two teams would come at once. One team would play, then another team would come out. Of course, none of the visiting teams could leave victorious. There was such a characteristic, the match would last until evening prayer unless someone took the lead. Çantaköy would score the goal. The match would end when they took the lead. Either there's a beating or there's a goal.
Actually, the ones with bags do not embrace violence, but victory is also important. Not just victory, of course. The prospective grooms who will take a bride from the bag will also face some difficulties, albeit slightly, within the framework of preserving traditions. In addition, henna nights, groom shaves, and hudrella celebrations continue to exist, at least partially, today, in the bag.
We would take the money from under the ground we stepped on. I also caught up with that group. Lately, it's our turn. We stop here when we come from outside. Here, 5 fried chickens, 10 bottles of raka, 200 lira money. The man will go, and if he has any connections, he will place someone like a favor in between. We agree on 5 with the country, then he takes it. We cannot enter the head. The drums are coming from behind the drums.
The young people of the village would wait at the edge of the village. They would collect the toll and take the money. After that, they would buy raki, the young men. Then the ones who let them pass would come into the village. As they left, a servant would raise the flag. The bride's family, the groom, villagers, and young men would dance. A fight break out among them.
Now, for example, a certain group in our neighborhood, the youth, the leaders, we took them out from the front of the car. We played games, but in front of the crazy ones. Now, the guys, well, time is up. Let me go. Continue to the tune, to the Bulgol tune.
We stand in line for them. When they came, when the time came, we found it. Now the land is simple money. With the money of that time, I also went out. He also went out, 150 lira, but a lot of money. Where will he get 150 lira from? The man, hit down, hold up, hit down, hold up. 50 lira, we take that money. If we drink, or we buy basak lokum. We eat them with friends at the cafe.
The fee for stepping on the ground, oh my God. They take their drums to dance, to jump. Money, definitely a lot. They will take it because they will buy something.
They block the way, they fight with some, they don't give it. I don't know what some do, but the festivities were beautiful.
Of course, now they have softened, but there used to be very strict rules. For example, like this. Money, this much rakı, this much beer, this much chicken, this much roasted meat, we want 3 oros, and so on. There were very radical things. It's not like that now. Now, of course, these are done to uphold traditions.
And once I was also a means, I did it back then, when I was going to the military. But I regretted what I did. I came home, they didn't let me in the house either. He says they didn't even give me bread.
I'm studying at university, a wedding is like this. We went out for the traditional wedding dance. Of course we took it. I went home in the evening. Apparently my late father heard about it. He said, "You are a man studying at university. Do you think this suits you?" I felt ashamed of myself afterwards. He said, "Come on, they might do it, but how did you think it suited you?"
Of course, I say I have friends. Crowded. A couple of them are right. I mean, trouble could arise. If I don't give it, might happen.
we did it. It's not like we didn't. I mean, we would go down to the entrance of the village. Our flag drums, we would stop them. Of course, that would be arranged from the henna night. How much money will be given? What will happen? Who will take it? Where will we meet? We would welcome them at the entrance of the village with a flag. The drums would descend. A few airs would be made. It would be played in twos. We would see them off. They would leave. They would take the bride and leave. We did. If we say we didn't do those days, it would be a lie. We did. We did too. I mean, we lived those days.
While I'm playing here, you'll come first when you cut my song. It's a fight. Whatever comes to your hand, you hit with it. Knife, stick, fist, whatever comes. How can you cut my vibe? Or while I'm playing, you get in front of me first. There's no such thing. That's a reason for a fight. I mean...
It would last for 3 days and 3 nights. On Friday, the drums would come out and each guest would be invited from their home with drums. They would invite them. Did he go to his door? He would knock and he would give him a tip.
We would get most of them with music from the coffee house. How many people are here? 10 people. The musicians arrive, you come to the wedding house with the musicians, you eat the meal. You go to the coffee house, you go to your home. That's how it was.
For example, everyone now wants a gift from the groom's side. You bring the gift. You give the gift. You hold on to them and turn around with them. You dance.
At weddings that are crowded like this, 20, 30 trays of baklava are brought to weddings. But, now you have taken them over time, they will bring to you as well. If you don't bring to anyone, no one will bring to you either.
For example, there used to be henna nights back then. They would burn the mother-in-law's thing, her scarf. We would make a show of her candle. They would burn it and dance. They would put something in the bride's hand while putting henna. They would place a gold coin. They would also make the bride kiss the mother-in-law's foot. To scare the bride, they would also use an old pot. They would hit the place where the bride was sitting with it, the mother-in-law, so that the bride would be afraid of the mother-in-law. That's how it was.
Honestly, in the old weddings, we would take the horse-drawn carriage. For example, is this a street where cars can't enter? The car. Shaft of the carriage, and park the carriage close to the door like this. They would wrap it with a rug so that no one could see, for instance.
Bring the bride to the room. A closed car, a horse carriage. Again, on the condition that the bride is not shown to anyone.
The groom threw them all down like this. He opened those things like this. After that, they never covered them again like that. I mean...
I made a priority. At the door, we were moaning. I mean, for example, you'll cover it from 10, 15 meters away. I said, like this. Go and tell them we did it differently. We set an example. I continued with the other friends.
When the bride goes inside, guns are fired. Some knock down the chimney. So you get a bit damaged, you know. Knock down the chimney. With a double barrel set, double shotgun pellets. Pierce all the tiles.
Meals were somewhat prepared collectively. Back then, I mean, a family would host a wedding, but you would provide food for the entire village. Preparing that much food is not something a single family can handle. Everyone in the neighborhood, as many neighbors as there are, would come with their pots and pans. They would all prepare the meals together. After that, it was truly a magnificent togetherness. That's how I would put it.
First of all, a large or small livestock animal is definitely slaughtered. The meat pot would be obtained from there. All the neighbors would take their knives. That's what they used to say. Even village weddings were planned according to my grandmother's availability because she was a cook. She would even go to nearby villages to cook. My grandmother.
There was a unique dish. Perhaps you've heard of his late mother. Here at the place called Kulich, they used to cook. It would start on Friday, and these festivities would continue from Friday until Sunday.
It would be very nice. The food would boil in large pots. My grandmother would open it for me. She would cook and, of course, make pastries.
Eating from one plate, something is being served. But there was no such thing. Ottoman style, a huge pot. There is no pride in the middle. That's how our meals are eaten.
They place the tray on the table, and 10 people eat from the same tray for 15, 20 lira each.
We used to serve a lot of food, not like a table. Let me tell you the truth. Large spreads would be laid on the floor, food would be served, including desserts. There would definitely be soup and stewed beans with meat. We call it kapama, or a meat dish we call sivriyan, whatever it is.
Beans, soup, pilaf, every dessert. At such weddings, everyone would make desserts. They would bring desserts to the weddings.
In the hunt races, 3-4 brains used to emerge. I would open my memory of them from about 200, 300 meters away. They would stand there. From that point on, whoever passed would take the pillow.
Horse racing, of course, Bilji's grandfather, her sister's husband always came in first. Fari's husband. Her grandfather was a horse trainer. Bilji's grandfather.
My honorary uncle Fahri Bilgiç. We had a horse named Also. For many years, no one in this area, not just our village, but also in the surrounding villages, could surpass it. For many years, my uncle always left a mark here, like a leader, like Karataş. Laughter.
Their fathers and grandfathers rode rakipiye. They had horses. They took good care of the horses. Fari was a top runner.
They wait here at the fountain. They take a pillow from whoever comes from there. You took the pillow, I took it, attack with pieces. They took it, the pillow goes, they tear off my hand, he pulls. Whoever takes a piece to the groom, we'll take it to the groom, we'll get a head job, that is.
You took it out. I even raced with myself against the horses. The one who comes first takes the pillow, the one who comes second takes the lamps. You go to the girl's house and take it, the pillow. With the horse, someone also takes the lamps for the one who comes second and brings them to the groom. He then gives you a tip according to the conditions of the day, they say.
Henna night, the first night, the next day drums. Again the clattering night, Sunday the grooms shave. After that, the bridal procession. It would be very beautiful.
I know my grooms, since I'm a barber when we do groom shaves. I knew my friends like that. We do groom shaves. We have friends who are patrons. They sing songs in Greek. We have fun and so on. They have a tradition instead of tying ties. We had traditions. I will tie a tie, but you have to bring us a token. You know, you have to bring something as a token so that I can tie your tie.
The wedding was on December 12th, 1962. It was a cold day. There were groom shavings. You know how there are tips now. Back then they would hang money on the groom while he was being shaved. May God bless them. 500 lira was collected. During my groom shaving, we paid for the musicians. In the morning, otherwise, where would you get 400 lira to pay for the musicians?
But she said she didn't tell you those things. There was a fountain in front of our house and also schools. She says my hands would freeze, but I would wash them to see you. The steel car. At that time, we had a car among the adults in the village. No one else had one. That car would always be the wedding car.
While walking in the neighborhood, I saw her. When my wife was getting water at the fountain, I said, she's good for me. I told my wife, I saw that girl and she's good. Him is yesterday. We sent a matchmaker.
Coats for the rotisseries, of course, coats for the rotisseries. To which you went. My rotisserie is a bit, how should I say, I don't know. Someone else did the job. He was my neighbor to my aunt. For the coat too, the coat, Berkan Ali, may he rest in peace. He did the job, he got the job done when it was said to be gone. He said, I want a coat, I will take care of it, take care. This man said, give him the coat, I did. Your job is done, right? Let him take it, we gave it to him. He asked.
Here is a suit for the brother-in-law, a coat for the father-in-law, and some are picky. They want a curry comb, not a spoon. They want fabric or whatever and so on. They come asking for a pillow, asking for a cushion and so on.
They will be sent away on May 6th. They were sent to Gungurme's fountain.
Tomorrow, manage Lezolo. Because tonight we had something, according to our tradition, we were lighting a century, a fire. I still light it again. Look, I'm still lighting it. I joke with the kids. Come on, son. To the grandchildren, come on. Let's jump so that the fleas, lice, and old age don't remain on us.
During an association night, the elders would do something like this. Those who are engaged, those who have a lover, make pottery. They put excuses inside the pottery. They put the gift, write the name. While drawing it, they ask whose it is. A bead is tied to it. Immediately. In the thing, of course, there are days, leaves, they read in that section the issue of Men's. They read it.
In the evening, everyone would put a gift into a pot. After that, there would be calendar pages like this. Calendars. We won't even look at them now. Then they would collect the pages of that calendar. There would be rhymes on those things. The next day, they would do it for the day. Everyone would draw from there. They would read their gift or the rhyme from the calendar.
There was a distinction between the lower neighborhood and the upper neighborhood. The lower neighborhood celebrated Hıdrellez, and there is also a place called Güngörmez. It's called Soğuk Çeşme, which we refer to as Çeşmeli Güngörmez. They would celebrate on that side. In our upper neighborhood, we would celebrate Hıdrellez. In this area, we call the Cavalry Fountain.
But there would be a lot of fights. We had the lower neighborhood and the upper neighborhood. At our weddings, after the upper neighborhood went down, they would beat us. When they came up, we would beat them. So we had such festivities.
It's an entertainment center, divided into 3. Drums, zurnas, all of them.
On the day of İzales, nobody goes to work. They also wake up early in the morning. We learned it from the elders. They would go to the garden, pick some greens, and hang them as a sign. There were walnut branches back then. They would just start to sprout. That greenery indicates the arrival of İzales.
The fun for the girls starts in the evening. Fires are lit in every neighborhood, and all the young people and children of the neighborhood gather and jump over the fire. It had become such a tradition.
The little ones, for example, boil eggs. Not like now. They used to boil eggs with onion skins. My mother, for example, would make color from onion skins. For the eggs, our friends would also join in. She would make color from onion skins. For the eggs,
They set up swings on the trees with fountains. For example, all the girls in the neighborhood, young girls, swing there on the swings. We young men also go there. We look at the girls. If you like someone, you should signal from there, like that. There are no phones now. They signal with signals one they like.
Kalı sirsin tupişkeş gönül hanım. Hem nazir sununa prokopsun ki hiluhronun ayenun. Yato tu kaymeno mitu zahar milumeno. Hem nazir sonuna prokopsun ki hiluhronun ayenun.
Thank you. In the village, I'm the only one who says it. No one else knows. If I go, then I go for good.